My name is Benjamin Waldon.
And I'm Zak Konakis.
It is August 25th, 2010, and you are watching The Gamer Talks. Today, we will be reviewing in more detail Kane Lynch 2, Dog Days. Mm-hmm. That's right. Last week, we did a first impression, and which was good.
It was a wonderful first impression.
Yeah.
But, at first glance, the level design was awesome, and they did some cool things with making it feel like they had a handy cam following you, and it was making everything grainy, and it was a good first experience. Like, it was a good first impression because it was new, and
like
it was
ejaculation.
Yes, it was one of those things like, man, if this keeps up, this could make me millions, but it wore thin.
Extremely. So we made this first impression based on the fact that we thought it was going somewhere.
Yeah, it was completely. We got ahead of ourselves and thought that, oh man, it's building up to something good. It's building up to something big.
And I guess is where we're going to segue into talking about the story. We really thought that Kane Lynch was going to take us into a direction where we're going to get really involved in each of the characters and that sort of thing. At least we thought that that's the direction Eidos was going to go with the second one. However, for some odd reason, every time you get to a plot point where a character is going to discuss with you what's going on, Lynch shoots him in the fucking head.
And it leaves you wondering, like, oh, well, is the next person? But no, it never gives you any kind of depth, because before anybody has a chance to reveal story or any kind of depth, that person is immediately murdered. And so I feel like they were making a reference to Quentin Tarantino. They just followed through on the character part of the story. They build up this.
That was sad.
It was very sad because it had a lot of potential. That 30 seconds of from fight to fight, it was intense and you got into it. But unfortunately, those became short-lived, and after a while, you could even bypass battles.
And especially the main characters on the ally side. So your girlfriend that you're supposed to protect, and that sort of... Everybody who you're supposed to protect, by the way, dies.
Yeah.
Which includes to everybody who you're supposed to get information out of. Yeah, they die before you get that information, which, yeah, we basically just discussed. So, I mean... And then you come to the end level, of which, you know, there's already only, what was it, 10 levels?
Yeah, there was 11 levels.
11 levels.
Yeah.
And there's basically 10 levels because the last level you just run to the plane.
Well, on the first level, it's you chasing a guy through an alleyway, and it's not much of a level. It's more quick tutorial.
So yeah, basically on that note, the game takes about 2 hours to complete. If you go on hard, it may take you 4 hours. Maybe.
And
no.
That's if you struggle with the level, because honestly, the A to B through the levels, if it takes you longer than 15 minutes, you can go back, bump down the difficulty, and then just sprint through the level. You don't even have to fight the characters, because it kills me because the difficulty slope, it goes from hard and then to normal is such a huge gap.
Yeah, you might as well lump normal and easy into the same.
Yeah, because there's no point in playing it on easy.
In fact,
you
there's
wouldn't
no
have to
point
do
in playing
anything.
it on normal. If I could make a suggestion, just play the game on hard if you want to have a good experience with it, because it is a shotgun type experience. You're gonna love it for the 30 seconds of battle that you do go through. You're gonna totally love that. We did.
Yeah.
I mean, every battle that we went through, the way that the level is designed, every single one of the levels were designed very, very well. Placement of the weapons, the AI that was used on hard difficulty setting, everything was great for that time being, but they just didn't have enough of it, especially for $60. I mean, we were saying you have to go down for $60, and you can go watch a movie for $5, and it's about the same amount of time that you're going to spend on it.
And it was just inconsistent because, as we talked about, there was no door to nowhere, but then all of a sudden they started popping up later on in the game, and it's just like, okay, was it just getting down to crunch time, or where is all of this coming from? And then even in some of the levels, like in a helicopter level, there's just this layer of smog, and you'll actually see unfinished buildings, and you're just like, why would you do this? Because you guys were doing so well at the beginning. Why just switch on us?
And I thought they were going to do a little better with that. I mean, by the end, you were kind of wondering if, rather than going for the cops type feel, if they were just using grain to cover up any kind of accidents that may have been part of the rush in getting this title out. And the thing is, it wasn't even really that much of a rush. I mean, how long has it been since Kane Lynch won? It's years.
2 years at least.
So, I mean,
my old
we're looking at...
Kane flies in.
Well, and then like even in some of the opening cinematics, like where he's standing on this grassy field, and I'm like, I don't remember that in the game. There's just a lot of stuff where I'm just like, that wasn't there.
So and just as we spoke, there's speaking of not there, the character you're trying to protect is not there. There's one level where you actually see her, and then the cinematic before you start the game. So there's absolutely no depth in this game. So if you're looking for that sort of game, this is definitely not the game for you. But if you're looking for 30 seconds of fun over the course of 2 hours, then I'd say purchase the game. It's definitely for you. It is fun. The weapon choices they have in there are fun. And it's a good game to buy if you're really into that. But speaking of the weapon choices, no grenades, no huge explosives, no rocket launchers, nothing like that. I would have liked to see more of that.
And
I would have loved to see more of that, because they had missiles. They were shooting at you when there's a part where you will be on a helicopter shooting into a building. You have to shoot down people with RPGs. They exist, but you can't use them for some reason. And on top of that, you can't melee either.
yeah, and that is one thing that really bothered me, because I'm used to the other shooters where, oh no, there's a group of guys over there and they're just bunkered down, so I need to throw a grenade.
Oh yeah.
That never, I've never had the opportunity for that. And if they got too close, it's like, I can kick down doors, by golly. I can kick down any door I want, but I can't hit this guy with the butt end of my gun. And I just felt like that.
Well, it's funny in multiplayer.
Yeah.
They're sitting there running around in a circle shooting each other because they can't melee. So they're as close as possible. And this is after I escaped on the helicopter already.
Yeah.
So I'm sitting there watching them, and we're talking 2 machine guns at point blank range. They can't hit each other because the aiming's off, obviously, because they're so close. And
Well,
it's obviously the game needs that.
And you can even take them hostage in multiplayer, but you can't execute them like you can in the game. And so it's just like, oh,
No
just kidding, and then you throw them back down to the ground and then shoot them because you can't kick them. Or
I did notice that.
and it's a lot like watching the Jersey Shore. You think it's going somewhere, but it just falls short every time.
So we came up with a word for it, which most of you may know.
One word to sum up my entire experience.
So we're hoping that they do release a third one. We're hoping that they move on and make a more enjoyable experience, meaning that a longer game. We thought that there was going to be some replayability in the multiplayer because in the first impression we had done 10. We did about an hour of multiplayer fun, and it was good because we only did a couple of different game types, which there's only 3, so we only had 1 more to try. The more we played it, though, the more we decided that all of the game types were variations of itself. So there's really only one game type. Even though they've split that game type into 3 different styles, they're still mainly all the same. And especially, they don't have a lot of things that they should, like team deathmatch.
Yeah, and
capture the flag. They don't have a lot of the classics. I don't know what's...
It really just comes down to, okay, you're doing a heist. How many people do you want against you? I thought that was such robbery because I do want the team deathmatch. I do want the capture the flag, whether it's a pound of drugs or a little sister. I mean, I want something there to sit down with my friends and just play around with. But even with some of the weapons, backtracking a little bit, if you have anything other than a shotgun, go back, find a shotgun, and then keep playing, because any other thing I found is just useless. Like the Uzi, I couldn't justify ever picking that up. Wanted to throw it.
I think I threw my paddle. I was hoping to throw a grenade, but I thought the paddle might work.
Yeah.
So I mean, just as I was saying before, I think the game's definitely good for a rental. It's got that experience. It's got the weekend experience. You invite a friend over. It's got that split screen co-op, which most games leave out these days. Really happy to see that, and I believe I stated that last week. And really, really happy to see that, because it was good to see that come back. And it was definitely better than, from what I feel, is its competition, which was Army of Two. I like this game much more, even though it's not as long. At least it's short, good stuff instead of really long garbage that you don't want to play. So definitely impressed with it, but I would say to only rent it unless you're either like a diehard Eidos or even a Square Enix fan at this point, or you're gonna enjoy replaying each part. So
yeah, and if you're a Square Enix fan, the bouncer, that immediately, as soon as we finished it, that was the first thing that I could compare it to in my head was, this is like the bouncer. It kind of left me unfulfilled, and it was extremely just quickly done. It's bad when one of the best things that I have to say about playing the game experience was the grips and my fingers not slipping off of the controller.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We did try those grips out.
Yeah, and like it got hot in the studio, and so playing, my fingers stayed put on that controller. But so unfortunately, it was short-lived.
Again, rent it. I think that's the conclusion at this point.
If you were 12 years old, go ahead and buy it. If you're older and have stronger sensibilities, it's worth a play in the afternoon. It's not really worth a whole lot else.
So, yep. So again, be sure to check us out at thegamer.vg. If you have any opinions, especially on this game, go ahead and throw down your comment. We want to hear about it. So definitely check us out. Next week, we're going to go ahead and, in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be looking into Metroid The Other M. So Tim's actually going to be playing that, and we're going to be checking that out. So be sure to join us next week and the following weeks for new video games and new reviews and new updates.